All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the MSM Parents Only session. Today's gathering is sponsored by the Spring Break Block Party, happening in the block on March 22nd. It is the perfect event for your son or your daughter to invite their unconnected friend to the Spring Block Party. Spring into action and get your middle school student there. And now, let's meet your MSM Parent Day hosts. Put your hands together for Isaac, Laura, and Julianne.
Look at that. That clapping was like, oh, we just got to a golf game, whatever.
You have no idea how long it took me to write that.
Yeah, you did a great job, Brock. I'm glad that we're a part of that. Isaac, Laura, and Julianne. Laura will be out here in a little bit. Oh, there she is right here. She is passing some cards out. You guys are getting the cards. Hey, welcome. This might be your first parent day. And you might have seen multiple people up on stage, and you're like, who on earth is in charge of this chaos or whatever? So, middle school ministry, myself, Isaac, and then Laura, can you do 2 jumping jacks? That was awesome. Julianne, can you sing I'm a Little Teapot? While you were doing it, you don't need to do that. All right, so that's us. Brock is our student ministry lead. We're excited to be here. Here's our hope for middle school ministry. We hope that middle school students can connect to Jesus and one another. That's why we're doing what we do, and I hope that in group time right now they are connecting with one another. So if you've never been here before, thanks for joining. If you are a parent and you have been here before, thanks for coming back. That means a lot too. It's almost like a big compliment. I'm just going to keep looking at you and you can just make a joke as soon as... Good joke. Okay, here we go. The goal of these parent days, we have one in the fall and one in the spring. We just spring forward. Let's schedule on a day where we all lose sleep. Here's the goal of the parent day, is for you guys to meet and strengthen your relationship with your student's leader. And so I hope that you got to do that, or you will do that as you are heading out. And we want to have these equip moments where we can just say, let's talk more about discipling. What does that look like? I want to learn from you guys. I want you to come up to us afterwards and say, hey, I have this question. Are we doing this? Can we think about this? Because we just want to hear, what are you guys doing and how are you parenting and how can we help you in that? Now, with that being said, we are behind, and I just wrote in a note right here, cut stuff. So if I just freeze in the middle of it, I'll be like, we just won't talk about that. But one thing that I do want to talk about, just as you're getting these cards, access.org, go ahead and throw up that first picture right here. This, I think, is the best parenting tool that you can have. And if you have not gone to access.org, AXIS, you can just scan that QR code, and that will take you to access.org. And then they also send out a thing called a culture translator. Here's what they do. This is a bunch of Bible-believing group of workers that got together and they said, how do we do this parenting thing, especially with teenagers? And they go out and they research a bunch of stuff, and then they send you the things that are happening. For example, I'm going to read you an excerpt from their email this last week. You can sign up. It says, join 400,000 plus parents receiving weekly culture updates. Subscribe to that if you would like to know what's happening in culture. They don't spam you, but they do send you. It's my favorite email every single week on Fridays. Here's one of the things. They said, hey, have this conversation with your kid. What is it? Last week, the algorithm for Instagram Reels briefly went haywire. When they opened the app, some scrollers, including minors, were deluged with pornographic material and videos of people being maimed or killed. I want to know if my kid is being exposed to that. And for some of you, you might be like, wait, Instagram? That's not supposed to be happening on Instagram. They have that whole meta thing. There's supposed to be blocks and everything. And this is why I'm just trying to say to you guys as parents this morning, please continue the conversation with your kids always. So if you say, hey, we're entering the social media world, continue the conversation. And things like this happen all the time. So then it says in this email, hey, continue the conversation. Here's a good question to ask your kid. What do you do when you come across a video that you don't want to see online? What a great question to ask your kid. And I hope that you guys can go home and ask them that of, hey, online, You can't always control what just pops up. What do you do when that happens? And have that conversation with them. And then it brought up other conversations about there's actually, let's talk positive. From 2022 to 2024, more people are saying, I'm a Christian. That's awesome. Have that conversation with your kid, though, of why do you think that more Americans are turning to Christianity? And you might be enlightened with what they have to say. And then it talked about the Oscars and stuff. Woohoo. That was me cutting stuff out. Listen, our kids are in this world, and we need to have conversations. I have a son who's in first grade. We like to wrestle, he's really energetic, and as I'm wrestling with him, he usually calls me bad guy. He's like, all right, you're the bad guy, and I'm going to get away or whatever, until a few months ago, he called me Diddy. Yeah, that's not good. To be called Diddy, and I was like, hold on, what'd you call me? And he said, you're Diddy. And I said, and if you don't know what that word means, find out. Come and ask me afterwards. But it's way more than a bad guy. And I was like, hey, we can't use that word. And he's like, well, that's what kids call each other at school if they're the bad guy. And our kids are a part of culture. They hear stuff, they don't even know what it means. So stuff like this just really helps. And here's what I know, that God is omnipotent, He is omniscient, He is omnipresent, and I want to be those things, but I'm not God. Those are set aside, those attributes are set aside for God, and I am a parent. And oftentimes, I can try to come in and live 360 or monitor every single thing or protect them, but I am trying to raise a child that will turn into an adult that will walk out and have to make these conversations with other people. And so I just know, how do I leverage this conversation right now? I have them in my presence. What conversation am I having with my kids? So continue the conversation. How do we tie this in with this MOVE initiative? I don't want our students to think that this is something that mom and dad are doing and that they are just watching. I want them to be a part of the conversation. So things that are tough that are happening in culture, I want them to be a part of the conversation. Things that we're doing here as a church, I want them to be a part of the conversation. And if we say, hey, we want 100% commitment, that is our middle school students. And this is personal to me, because if we are looking at this as a 2-year plan, guess who is walking into middle school ministry 2 years from now? My daughter. And I want her to walk in with the foundation being set that middle school students pray and commit to life change. I want her to walk in and say, wait a second, over the last 2 years, you've had students that have been generous with their time, their talent, their treasure, their testimony. That's what we're supposed to be doing in middle school ministry. And I can say, yes, over the last 2 years, I've got to watch that happen. And so, Selah, you can do that too, even as a middle school student. So your job as a parent is to be intentional with those conversations and to continue that conversation. So I think that you can go in and you can say, hey, I think that you can join in this. How can I help you? Yes, you can do this. How can I help you do this? So here's how we can help them. Here's how we can help them today. Show up, go ahead, to Yum Center. Yum Center pictures. Show up tonight. And you might be like, I don't know if I want to go. This might be the most impactful thing that you can do for your middle school student, is to bring them into all of the campuses, all of the multi-generational, and just say, hey, look at this. We have so many generations here that are worshiping together. Please come and be a part of this. And they can feel like, oh, I'm a part of this too. And it's not like let me just be home and you guys go be a part of that. Walk into that together as a family. And then here's what you can do this week. Brock did a very fast, hey, commitment card and whatever. It can be really confusing. So I made a confusing timeline for us to talk about this. There's 2 different things. You guys as adults, you guys are doing, the commitment card, Yum Center, and then we have commitment card Sunday happening on March 23rd. Here's what I'm asking for you guys to do with middle school students. Go ahead and go to the next slide. Let's try to erase the clutter. This is it. What do I do with my middle school student? Today, Brock talked about it. Over the next 7 days, pray every single day. Hey, you're about to make a decision without mom and dad there in MSM with a commitment card next Sunday. So let me continue the conversation with you. Know that you're going to make this decision, and let's pray every single day. So Monday night, right before we go to bed, we're going to pray about what you're going to do on Sunday. Tuesday, Wednesday, we're going to pray about this. And then next Sunday during MSM, they are going to come down, write a commitment, and then you continue the conversation and say, all right, what'd you do? And how can I help you be a part of it? Does that make sense? Great. I don't know why I ask questions like that, because if it didn't make sense, I don't think that anyone would be like, doesn't make sense. If it doesn't make sense, come and find me. Continue the conversation. Instagram, continue it. Move, continue it. Elizabeth's message, continue it. Campus coming up. Brock, you're up.
Yes, I would love to interrupt and also read something else that I wrote about camp. That's right, middle school camp is happening July 20th through the 23rd, and registration opens up this Thursday. When does registration open up? This Thursday. That's right, don't camp out on that keyboard too long. Spots are limited. Get your middle school student registered for camp, the most awesome summer ever. Back to you, Laura.
Thank you so much for
Thank
that.
you.
Hey,
Appreciate it.
we're going to skip showing this trailer, but I really wanted to tell you guys about the docuseries thing that just came out about Southeast. If you guys haven't already watched it, it is really good. Please watch it with your student. You know how your kids are working on genealogy things? They have to make a family tree project at school. This is a great way for them to learn about their church family and the history of Southeast. And I watched it with my 5th grader, and I thought he was kind of rolling his eyes at it at first, but then he sat down and watched it, and he was really into it. So I think your 6th, 7th, and 8th graders are going to get into it. I loved it. So I just want to encourage you all, as we are doing this MOVE initiative, to watch that. You can find it on YouTube, on our Southeast YouTube channel. It is a 3-part thing. It's only 30 minutes for each part, so you could even break it up and watch it. But we loved it. And I just didn't want to miss an opportunity to tell you guys about that. All right, Isaac, what's next?
Sorry, I was ready. Hey, let's invite up the Lucas. Woo! Brock, do something crazy with your mouth right now and be like, blah, 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 and create noises.
My mic wasn't on, so sorry.
Your mic wasn't on. Okay, well, that's great. Hey, as they are coming up, we're going to just talk about a practical way to get into MOVE initiative and kind of what this has looked like in the past with other things. So I would like to introduce Susan, which Brock, can you give them a microphone, please? I think that is backstage. Susan, we've had some really good conversations, not just about MOVE initiative, but just I love that she has a heart to see her student discipled. And that's what she cares about. Hey, I have a kid. I want him to grow up, know his word, get around a godly community. So I just love that about Susan. Laura, introduce Bryce.
So this is Bryce. I met Bryce when he was in 5th grade, coming up into middle school. And I have gotten to see Bryce, he's now in high school, just grow in his love for the Lord and his obedience to serving the kingdom. And so we are going to talk to them about what that has looked like in their lives today. So, Isaac, can you remind us of some of the initiatives of MOVE before we start asking them questions?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Why are we talking to them about
I
this?
think that the most important thing to me is, in talking about this, especially with middle school students, is saying kind of what Kyle said in his sermon. Well, I was there on Thursday, so I guess this morning, of everything that we're giving towards is outside of, like, they're really not going to see a lot of this. And so you're going to have people in Liberia, reading a different translation of the Bible, and our middle school students will probably never meet that person, ever. And it's like, good, do something outside of yourself. And so I get excited about that. I get excited about planning the other campuses. There's a whole list of them. For the sake of time, go into your MOVE booklet, look at all the initiatives. But yeah, let's talk more about this with Susan and Bryce.
Also, there's going to be a phone number up on the screen. If you parents have any questions that you want us to ask Bryce or Susan, please text that. And Isaac is going to be looking through those so we can try to ask some of the questions. Bryce, you get the first question. A couple of years ago, you set up a challenge to get somebody to camp. Can you explain what you did and why you did it?
Yeah, what I did was I started a dog business or dog sitting business a couple years ago, and I was taught to save some of the money, tithe, and then use the rest to spend. So with the money I tithed, I decided I wanted to give it to a camper going to a Southeast camp. So I gave it to a Southeast camp. Why I did it was because I felt the Lord calling me to give someone my age and younger the chance to learn about himself and his glory, and just give them the opportunity to learn about that.
Awesome. How long did it take you to save up enough money to send somebody to camp?
I bet it was probably a year.
A year?
Yeah.
That's awesome, and quite an investment.
Thank you.
Susan, you had a role in this too. How did you help Bryce accomplish this challenge?
So when he started his little business, I was like, oh, I don't think I've taken the time to teach him like about spend, save, and tithe and all that. So I just took it as an opportunity to teach him about that. And so I encouraged him like, hey buddy, like let's work on these things. And so, and then also just teaching him that like everything we have is not ours, it's the Lord's. And so it's been given to us as a gift to steward. So just teaching him how to like listen to the Holy Spirit about like what he should use his money for and on. Yeah, just discipling him in that. Like
Awesome.
like what was the lady today? What was her name?
Elizabeth?
Yeah, like Elizabeth's talking about like listening to like learning his voice through giving.
Okay, so practically, as a parent, how do you teach your middle schooler to listen to God's voice? I didn't tell her I was going to ask this question.
No,
I was
it's
like,
really
I'm
good.
leading in. Please
I
tell
want
me.
to learn.
I would love to share that real quick, and then he has a really cool story from a couple weeks ago where he had to do that.
Okay.
So I would love him to share. Just really like what was Elizabeth? Yeah. Elizabeth talked about today, like being in the Word, praying, and being a community. Just really poured into my children, like about spending time in the Word every day, because it's just so important to connect to the vine, to hear His voice, to know, okay, this is Holy Spirit or this is my flesh or whatever, to know like what He wants us to do. And so he has a really cool story from a couple weeks ago. He's on the archery team and he was sick and he needed to make a decision. So instead of me making the decision, I was like, bro, you're like 14 now. Like, let's get you to listen to the Lord's voice. Like, this is a great opportunity for you to start hearing His voice.
So I was sick, and there was a really big archery tournament that night, and I was starting to feel better, but I wasn't 100% if I was good to go. So my mom encouraged me to get in the Word or get in my devotional. So I started flipping through my devotional pages, and as I did, I saw a verse that said, "And I will renew your bow to your hand, and you will uplift for my glory." And so I decided to go that night, and I shot my personal best and placed second. So
Wow, that's awesome. So, go ahead.
So when he was like, it was like 30 minutes later, and he's like, I know what I'm supposed to do. And I was like, 30 minutes, you know? And I said, tell me what you got. And he told me that verse, and I was like, wow, it has the word bow in it. Like, he's shooting archery. Like, this is wild. It was
That's
so
awesome.
cool.
This is not, religious at all. Chris Osmer, can you like raise, if there was an apple on his head, do you think that you could shoot it off of his head?
He's thinking about it.
if I had 3 tries, yes.
3 tries. One in the chest, one in the neck. But that third try was awesome. Man, he nailed it.
I love that.
If you gave me a bow with a scope, then yes, I
Okay, a
could
bow
get it
with a
first try,
scope.
but like,
We'll make sure that we hook you up with a bow with a scope, just for your own
can we use a
personal
mannequin
well-being.
instead?
That's awesome. Susan, I have one more question for you real quick. Would you have given that same challenge to Bryce in 6th grade? Or how would you have coached him when he was like 11?
That's a good question. So we've been doing like time with the Lord since he was very, very little. But in 6th grade, I probably would have sat with him and like, I'd already started teaching him to have his own quiet time in 6th grade. So like with decisions like that, I probably would have been more present or more involved in helping him. But now that he's 14, I'd kind of he knows the drill. So just letting him get in the Word himself and seeing what God does and maneuvering that way.
Awesome. Thanks, you guys. Isaac, as a middle school ministry, how can we best partner with parents?
Thank you guys for being here. I mean, but continue. We want to continue the conversation always, and that is with us. If you guys could email us, I think that Brock is going to have a very energetic way to communicate how to stay connected and get updates shortly after this. Is that true?
I don't know what you're talking about.
You don't know what I'm talking about. But seriously, reach out, email, continue the conversation, and please be there tonight. We really want you to be a part of it and come and say hi. We love seeing middle school students. And let me just call it as it is. I might not know their name. I spend a lot of time investing in leaders and people that are shepherding them. They know their group leaders really well. I might not know their name. I kind of hate that, but I do know their face, and I'm like, what's up? I love it if they come up and say hi. I love being a part of this family. So please continue the conversation.
Awesome.
That's right, Isaac. We do have a way for parents to stay up to date on everything happening in MSM. All they have to do is text the word MSM to 733-733. Wait, you're telling me it's as easy as texting MSM to 733-733? I sure am, Isaac. Text MSM to 733-733 to stay up to date on everything happening in MSM and for a chance to win a brand new car. Terms and conditions apply. Brand new car not included.
Thank you so much, Brock. All right, you guys have 2 minutes before your students are dismissed from groups. And I would love for you guys to use that time just to gather up with each other and just pray. Pray over being a parent and needing wisdom for that. Pray over how to help teach your kid and bring them along on this move journey. But yeah, please break up and do that, and then you guys are dismissed, or you can come find us if you have any questions. Thanks, guys.